It was Christmas when the entire family gathered together. My husband, holding that Christmas dinner, headed for the trash can.
Food from a bad cook goes straight to the trash.
And with that, he threw it away. You know that cost $2,000, right?
What? Seriously?
At that moment, it felt like a scene out of a sitcom as a huge lecture from the relatives ensued. I'm Alana, just a regular housewife in my 50s, but my life has its own share of drama. At 25, while working as an office worker, I met Griffin, a charming salesperson. I was instantly captivated by his witty banter, and it didn't take long before I accepted his lunch invitation. Then, like something out of a film, he surprised me with a marriage proposal. We began our idyllic, newlywed life, sharing household responsibilities after deciding to tie the knot. But marriage comes with its surprises. A few months in, my husband's other side came to light. It was a dramatic revelation, like the climax of a TV drama. The once knight of sales, polished in a suit and knowledgeable in fine dining, was clueless about household chores. He claimed his throne in pajamas over the weekends. I told him, Griffin, it's time to clean. But he arrogantly responded,
Do you think someone like me would stoop to doing menial housework? I'm the one who brings in the money. Isn't it your duty as my wife to support me?
But we agreed to share the household chores.
The battles I face in sales dwarf your tasks.
In the midst of this, I found out I was pregnant. He complained.
You can't even keep the house clean while you're at home.
I'm dealing with morning sickness.
But that's not an illness. You should at least be able to cook.
Despite his harsh remarks, I brought a new life into the world. During my pregnancy, I heard that the future dad was struggling with the reality, but I remained hopeful. I believed my husband would fall in love once the baby arrived. I was thrilled when our son was born, but only as the successor to carry on the family legacy.
I'm the eldest son, so naturally I'll continue the family legacy. The one thing you've done right is giving birth to a proper heir.
He barely participated in parenting. On weekends, he'd leave the house claiming our child's crying was the reason. Even after I returned to work from maternity leave, his attitude didn't change. One day, after leaving our young son with him, I came home to find him crying. I'm hungry, Mommy. Next to him, my husband was sprawled on the couch, drunk. Fury welled up in me, and I confronted him. Hey, what the hell? You feed yourself but not Ryan? He looked at me bewildered and yelled back.
What? It's your fault it's not ready.
It felt like he was blaming me for leaving our child with him. To balance work and childcare, I switched from full-time to part-time. This allowed me to leave on time and avoid working weekends. However, the cut in my salary only fueled my husband's contempt. I decided that once my son was a bit older, I would take a new path. I would divorce and reclaim my freedom. Juggling work and household chores was like performing in a circus. My husband dismissed my efforts as mere office worker issues and insisted I'm busy with sales. But for my son, I'd endure anything. His smile fueled me. As he grew, my love for him deepened and I cherished every step he took. Then one day, my son said to me,
Mom, thank you. You always work, make delicious meals, and support us.
His words touched me deeply and tears flowed. It was the moment my love blossomed. My son's thank you was the greatest reward for all my efforts. As he grew up, he grew rapidly, like Jack's beanstalk. One day, my husband suddenly brought up our son's education.
So, where's Ryan going for school?
We haven't decided yet. He should think about it himself.
What? You don't understand, do you? The high school he attends will shape his college future.
He should choose the college he wants to attend.
No. He'll go to the university I graduated from. A top-tier school.
And how will we afford tutoring?
Tutoring? My son doesn't need tutoring. Or is he underperforming?
He's ranked 15th in his grade.
Make him study more. You're failing as a mother.
Despite no tutoring, our son excelled in a selective high school and later a prestigious university. However, my husband didn't praise Ryan, instead bragging about him as though he were his own personal accomplishment. At family gatherings, he reveled in comments like, "Ryan is definitely Griffin's son." Eventually, our son stopped attending family gatherings. He was fed up with his pretentious father. After graduating from university and securing a job, he moved out to start his life independently. Meanwhile, the relationship between my husband and me was tumultuous. I was treated like a maid daily. And today, suspicions of infidelity arose. The evidence lay in the credit card statements. Checking the sent statements, I noticed a luxury brand bag had been purchased without my knowledge. Of course, I didn't own the bag. So this could only mean... When I confronted my husband with a statement, Griffin said,
"Why are you upset? It's a gift for Lisa."
Lisa was the daughter of my brother-in-law, Paul, meaning she was my husband's niece. But she was still in high school, hardly the age for luxury brands. And further digging unveiled a slew of similar charges. It was unmistakably evidence of an affair. Unexpectedly, I received a call from my mother-in-law. She couldn't host Christmas dinner because she had injured her back. Every Christmas we gather at my in-laws' house for a grand meal prepared by my mother-in-law, an excellent cook. She suggested,
"Should I order takeout this year?"
But my husband had a different idea.
"Why not have Katie cook? She's a culinary researcher, right? If she teams up with my wife, they'll definitely whip up something incredible."
Katie is Paul's wife and shares cooking recipes online. Griffin made sure I was listening as he turned his smartphone to speaker and called Katie. My mother-in-law apologized.
"I'm sorry for the sudden request."
But my husband replied,
"Oh, it's okay. Alana's right here with me."
He had manipulated the situation so I couldn't say no.
"Alana, are you okay with what Griffin's suggesting?"
She asked me. "Yes, I may not cook like you, but I'll do my best."
"Thank you, Alana. I really appreciate it."
The Christmas scene turned into an impromptu cooking show audition. It morphed into an unexpected chance to display our culinary talents, rounding out the year. Griffin was all smiles, like a child in a candy store.
"I can't wait for the taste test. After sampling Katie's dishes, maybe you'll pick up a few tips?"
Internally groaning, I realized I was committed after promising my mother-in-law, and I had to start preparing the Christmas dinner. I made traditional dishes like turkey with stuffing, mashed potatoes, and honey-glazed ham, and took them to my in-laws' house. Upon arrival, my mother-in-law, nursing her injured back, greeted me at the door.
"I'm really sorry about today,"
she said. "Oh, don't worry about it. How's your back?"
"I can walk now, but it's still painful. I can't lift anything heavy. Could you help set up the guest room? Everyone will be arriving soon."
"Of course." I cheerfully responded and began setting the stage for the Christmas dinner. I arranged enough chairs for everyone, polished the table, and laid out the cutlery and wine glasses meticulously. It almost felt as if the Christmas dinner was a formal ceremony, and I managed everything smoothly. Relatives started arriving, exchanging holiday greetings, while I stayed busy. However, Katie was conspicuously absent. When I asked my mother-in-law, she replied,
"She's running late because she's having trouble with her dishes."
Amidst the preparations, I realized we were running low on alcohol. After informing my mother-in-law, I headed to the bustling downtown to buy more. There, a scene straight out of a soap opera unfolded before me. At a traffic light, I spotted my husband arm in arm with a woman. Unbelievably, it was Katie, my brother-in-law's wife. They seemed to be deeply engaged in pleasant conversation. My heart pounded at this unexpected revelation. My brother-in-law was supposed to be working overseas, and in her hand was that bag. Driven by curiosity and anger, I decided to follow them. I watched as they boarded a bus, and I jumped on after them. I had no idea what plot this Christmas would weave. Under the chilly winter sky, I wore my hat low and trailed them discreetly. They were lost in their own world, unaware of their surroundings. As I settled into a seat on the bus, I could overhear their conversation.
Visiting home is such a hassle.
So, I pulled out my smartphone and began recording. But it would be odd if we didn't go home. I was asked to cook after all. Griffin chuckled in response.
I always look forward to your cooking.
Katie added, I used some really high-end ingredients this year, just for you. Griffin eagerly replied,
I'm looking forward to it. It's a nice change from my wife's awful cooking.
If it's so terrible, why did you marry her? He replied,
I didn't know about her cooking skills before we got married.
Aw, you poor thing. Let me pamper you with my cooking tonight.
Fantastic. By the way, how's your husband?
Oh, he's away on a business trip for New Year's. And my daughter's staying at a friend's place too.
So you'll be alone for the New Year's?
Yeah, it'll be lonely. Why don't we have some fun together?
Sure thing. Spending time just the two of us in a luxury hotel sounds wonderful.
That sounds perfect. Today's gathering is a hassle, but I'm looking forward to our time during New Year's.
Me too.
Witnessing their infidelity, I felt like I was in the midst of a storm. I returned to my in-laws' house before them, waiting for Katie's arrival. When she arrived, Katie apologized. Alana, sorry I'm late. I couldn't finish the preparations by myself. Taking a deep breath, I began. Katie, to be honest, I kind of slacked off on the cooking today. But you're a wizard in the kitchen, right? Could you add some of your magic touch to it? She smiled and replied, Don't worry. Today is special. I've actually prepared a sumptuous meal with a secret recipe. Really? That's a relief. You truly are a wizard in the kitchen. My husband always says this again when it's my cooking. He'll definitely be surprised with yours. Her dishes were indeed opulent, featuring a classic casserole, prime rib, corn pudding, not to mention lobster, roast beef, and even caviar. If lobster was included, it must have been quite pricey. Katie, this is truly spectacular. Everything looks delicious. Right? I spent $2,000 on the ingredients. That much? I'm a culinary researcher after all. I want to show off my cooking to everyone today. She likely just wanted to earn praise from my husband. Then I'll bring it out later. Could you check on everyone's favorite drinks in the meantime? As we spoke, Griffin arrived, rather nonchalantly.
Sorry I'm late. I just wrapped up some work.
While greeting the relatives, one remarked,
Wow, Griff, you have to work even on Christmas? Well, I've become a manager. A boss has to fix his subordinates' mistakes. Sounds like you're a great manager.
The atmosphere was wonderful and festive. Every time he greeted a relative, Griffin took a drink. He's not very good with alcohol, and the whiskey being served was high proof. He was probably on an empty stomach, so he was likely to get drunk quickly. I headed to the kitchen alone to finalize the food. When I glanced at Katie, she was mingling with other relatives and drinking, showing no urgency to get started. Perfect! Just then, a slightly tipsy Griffin entered the kitchen.
Hey, is the food ready?
I'm bringing it now. How does it look? I proudly displayed the dishes. He sampled a bit of the food and declared,
Yep, your cooking is still terrible.
He then took the plate to the trash and dumped everything. Oh my gosh!
This is a celebration. Don't serve such awful food.
How could you? I intentionally raised my voice. Just then, Katie arrived and seeing Griffin with an empty plate, asked with a smile, Did you try the food? He replied,
No, her food was so bad I just threw it out.
You did what?
I just tasted it and it was inedible.
But, I made that. She looked stunned.
What? But isn't this her cooking?
I just served Katie's cooking on our plates. I said this to my husband with a triumphant look. Katie was near tears. I spent all day yesterday making it. I even splurged on expensive ingredients from other states. And you call it awful. She broke down crying. The commotion in the kitchen attracted the curious relatives who gathered around. The mother-in-law asked the distraught Katie.
What happened?
I dramatically recounted, like a heroine in a drama. Griffin threw away the meal Katie poured her heart into. The relatives glared at my husband and began to scold him. What do you think you're doing?
We were looking forward to the professional taste of a culinary researcher. Katie had been bragging about her cooking at the drinks table.
The father-in-law pressed.
How are you going to make this right? It's Christmas after all.
I pressed further. She had prepared expensive ingredients just for today, costing around $2,000.
What? $2,000?
He looked at her astonished. Tearfully, she said, Since luxury ingredients are all the rage lately, I try not to be outdone by the trend. I pressed on. Well, we might as well order takeout. It's Christmas, but maybe there are some shops that deliver today. While saying this, I took out my smartphone and pressed the playback button for the recording, which I had set to maximum volume. Katie's voice played first. But it would be odd for us not to go together. I was asked to cook. Then my husband's voice.
Yes, I'm looking forward to your home-cooked food.
What? Upon hearing this, my husband and Katie turned pale.
What? Why do you have this? No, stop it!
He approached me angrily. I feigned innocence. Oh, sorry. I must have hit the wrong button. I scanned the gathered crowd. My father-in-law, sensing something was amiss, approached my husband with a stern expression.
What's going on here?
My mother-in-law also looked confused.
Were you having an affair with your own brother's wife?
Griffin stuttered, struggling for words.
Well, she's my sister-in-law, so naturally we get along well, right?
I asked incredulously. Then why would you go to a luxury hotel with your sister-in-law? He attempted to justify.
Well, it was like a family outing.
Such excuses were clearly unconvincing. An affair is nothing else but an affair if it involves just the two of them traveling. No, Alana, really? I had noticed something earlier. Katie, that's a lovely bag you have today. Oh, yes, it's a limited edition just released for Christmas, she replied proudly. I seized the opportunity to press further. Really? Actually, there's a purchase record for that brand on our credit card statement. It's not mine, though. So that means it was a gift from my husband to you, right? The timing fits perfectly. Yeah, I received it. Since my husband is away, Griffin was thoughtful enough to get it for me. Isn't that right, Griff? She looked for confirmation, but my husband was looking elsewhere. It's unthinkable for a husband to buy such expensive gifts for his sister-in-law and not for his wife. Katie challenged. If you suspect me that much, do you have any proof? I then showed the relatives a photo I had taken earlier of the two arm in arm. She claimed, Oh, I just tripped and he was helping me. Her desperate excuses continued, but the affair was clear. Then suddenly a figure appeared.
Just admit it already,
said Paul, her husband, standing in front of her. Katie gasped. What? Why are you here? She couldn't hide her surprise and confusion. He smiled, but his eyes were stormy.
I came home early from work because it's Christmas. Plus, I received some interesting information and came quickly.
It's not what you think, honey, Paul calmly asked.
What's not?
His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. I haven't had an affair with your brother at all, Katie insisted.
Oh? Can you still say that after this?
He pulled out a photo, not the one I took today, but one showing them coming out of a hotel and other compromising situations over the past few months. Katie gasped. My husband and Katie both looked completely flustered. Paul revealed.
I hired a detective agency. There's plenty of evidence.
His voice was icy. Katie, trembling, asked, Why? How long have you suspected?
Since the last time I came home. I found unfamiliar brand bags and shoes and no purchases on the card statement. I had it checked out. I had a hunch about the affair, but I never thought it would be my own brother. And we have our daughter too.
Forgive me, honey. It was just a moment of weakness. I was so lonely.
Huh, you have the nerve. You're planning to go to a hotel together, weren't you? Alana told me.
What? She looked shocked. Yes, I had seen the two of them together and contacted Paul. When are you coming back? I need to talk to you about something. I suddenly asked him. After a long silence, he replied.
Are you talking about my wife and your husband? Actually, I'm on my way home right now, hurrying to my parents' house.
That's right. I'm thinking of using this as an opportunity to file for divorce.
Is that so? I was also about to confront them, as I've just gathered enough evidence.
With this phone call, he and I agreed to expose our cheating partners in front of all the relatives. Now Griffin yelled.
You two were in this together?
He glared at me and started shouting. What are you talking about? Drop that attitude right now. The fault is yours. He argued.
I was tempted. She said she was lonely.
So you think that makes it forgivable? I'm filing for divorce, and I will be seeking alimony. But he scoffed.
Huh, after all I've done to support you, this is how you talk? If you can't forgive a little infidelity, you're not fit to be a wife.
At this point, my father-in-law lost his patience.
Enough. How can you say such things so shamelessly, time after time? You're a disgrace to the family. I'm cutting ties with you. Dad, don't be hasty. I'm the eldest son. We don't need an eldest son like you. Get out.
After the divorce was finalized, my ex-husband's fate spiraled downward like a tragic hero. He boasted that he could cover the alimony using his position at the company, but a corporate investigation exposed his long-standing gambling habit. With his savings depleted and abandoned by his family, he accrued debts to pay alimony, and eventually he even tampered with company funds. He was demoted at work, and rumors of embezzlement spread, leaving him without a position there. Now he's lost his job and is scraping by through a modest part-time job. Truly, what goes around comes around. When you look down on others and seek to benefit yourself, you end up falling into the deepest hole. Freed from this burden, I've embraced a new freedom. I recently enjoyed a leisurely trip using the alimony. Moving forward, I plan to live for myself and my own happiness. I won't say I'm gloating, but the life ahead will be my greatest revenge. In the sky above, I can see a constellation of good fortune shine brightly.